Ah, there we are. So sorry about that. Just gone midday. I'm 2 seconds late. I apologize. What can I tell you? Hang on. Oh, I'm outside. Oh dear, unbelievable. Right, I do appear that sort of the technical gremlins are getting the better of me today. There we go. I'm back in my room. How lovely is that? Splendid. Welcome along to the Midday Show. This is Phil here, Phil Dave. Now, you may have noticed that Russ is not here again this week, but don't worry, he's just working hard elsewhere. Is it working hard or hardly working? Can't remember. Anyway, one way or another, we'll carry on as per in his absence. And it's a pleasure to have your company one way or another. Now, for this week, we've got a treat for you. Now, you may recall that last week that we were joined by the theatre critic extraordinaire that is Mr. Jonathan Baz. Well, I have to tell you that sort of he's decided that he will grace us with his presence 2 weeks on the trot, which is very exciting. And here he is now. Jonathan, a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Oh, and good afternoon to you too. And clearly it is the day of the technical gremlins, because regular readers or listeners will notice that my backdrop is a little bit different, because I'm now coming to you live via the technology of iPhone rather than the technology of my laptop, which is far more preferable. But anyway, nonetheless, as long as you can hear me and see me, albeit in a different perspective, we will move on. And it's interesting because, of course, Russ has very noble responsibilities elsewhere from time to time as a celebrant at funerals, which segues in quite nicely to my first review this week, which is of Hamlet, which has possibly the most famous gravedigger scene in theatre.
And with a very appropriate backdrop you have for it as well. I noticed on the wall there. Look at that.
Thank you very much. And you can only see, I was aware, I was trying to get in more of the picture, but it didn't kind of quite work out. That is, in fact, the whole of the play text of Hamlet in the shape of a skull.
No way. That's amazing.
It is indeed. I'd lift up my phone and show it to you, but I'd never get it back in this nice position that I've struggled for ages to set it up. So maybe some other time we can have a guided tour of the artwork of my office, which I have to say, if I say so myself as I look around, even though I could describe it to the listeners, but it is quite impressive. Anyway, Hamlet at the National Theatre, which I had the pleasure of seeing this week. And I should say all of my reviews this week are of shows that are enjoyable and well worth acquiring a ticket for, should they tickle your fancy. Hamlet, the title role is played by a chappie called Hiran, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Hiban Abesekera, I'm not sure. He's the prince. And of course, in line with this famous ripping old yarn, he is out to ascertain his uncle's guilt. Because as we all know in the story of Hamlet, the ghost pops up early. Well, the song is a ghost and a prince meet, and everybody ends as mincemeat. That sums up the play in 2 lyrics in a rhyming couplet. But Hamlet meets the ghost, learns from the ghost that his father, the king, had been murdered by his uncle, and the play is then Hamlet trying to ascertain his father's his uncle's guilt, trying to convince himself that the ghost was telling the truth, which he does. And then, the tragedy unfolds. There's a bit of love interest with the gorgeous young Ophelia. The play is dripping in some of the most famous quotes ever to populate the English language. And this production of Hamlet, it's good fun, is what I would say. Some of it is tragically sad, particularly, I would say, there's real pathos in with the actress who plays Ophelia, a woman called Francesca Mills, who is quite funny and coquettish early on in the play, but then as people who understand Hamlet will know, she descends into madness in the second half. I forget if it's Act 3 or Act 4, and ultimately commits suicide. And
so, out of interest, because obviously I think that to anyone who knows the story of Hamlet would know that fun is not necessarily an adjective one would associate with it. So what is it about this one that you think makes it fun?
Hamlet, Hiran Abesekera brings a bounce to the role that's enjoyable but the comedy is not overplayed. It's just taken perhaps a slightly where tongues can be placed in cheeks, they're placed in cheeks. It's I just found it, and I've seen, gosh, many Hamlets in my time. This is not the best, but it's very good, and it's enjoyable to watch, and it's accessible. The language has been tinkered with only slightly, which always, if for example they've got a woman playing, here they have a woman playing Horatio. Horatio is, of course, Hamlet's best friend around when he dies, and the actress who plays Horatio, who disgracefully I didn't name in my review, and I haven't got her name easily to hand. So bits of that have been changed from they've changed the pronouns, and on this occasion I'll respect the pronouns being changed because he is a she. So there's minor tweaks with the language, but all of them are acceptable. There are a few edits as well to make it just a little bit shorter. Most of the edits meet with the Baz seal of approval. A couple don't. But one way or another, it's a Hamlet that I think will be enjoyed by someone who either is familiar with the play, as I am, or equally a newcomer. Because sometimes unlocking Shakespeare first time around to the stories can be challenging, to put it mildly. And this show, I use the phrase good fun. As Hamlets go, it's good fun, where there are some comedy scenes, and the gravedigger scene is, of course, one of Shakespeare's greatest bits of comedy. It's because, as we know, funerals bring huge amounts of extremes of emotion, and Hamlet arrives at the grave that's being dug for Ophelia following her suicide. Hamlet is unaware she's killed herself. Hamlet had been sent off to England to be killed by his wicked uncle, and of course he escapes that evil plan, sneaks his way back into Denmark, comes across this grave that's being dug, and there's a fabulous bit of dialogue between him and the gravedigger, which actually leads itself to that famous scene where the gravedigger digs up a skull that was in the ground, which turns out to be Yorick's skull, and you've got that famous quote, "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest." That's where that comes from. But the dialogue between Hamlet and the gravedigger is very funny, even without this production enhancing the comedy. It's a bit of light relief for the audience, to be honest, who've been hurtled through reams of murder, suicide, grief, madness, etc. They then get this little moment of respite of comedy with the gravedigger. Then the funeral kicks off with Ophelia's funeral. And then, of course, there's the final sword fight between Hamlet and Ophelia's brother, actor called Laertes. A character called Laertes. And then everyone dies, apart from Horatio. The Wicked King.
Which, by the way, Horatio, I've just looked up on the website on the National Theatre, is played by Sophia Papadopoulos.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that bit of technical backup immensely. The Wicked King is played by Alistair Petrie as Claudius. Absolute bad guy, and gorgeous with it without being over the top. He's convincing in his evil. He's a flawed evil character, because halfway through the play he's really struck with a moment of conscience when he's in the chapel praying, and he acknowledges that his prayers are not going up to heaven because his thoughts and his guilty conscience are very much weighing him down on planet Earth. And in fact, it's at the moment Hamlet possibly has a chance to stick a knife in him there and then, because by that stage Hamlet knows he's guilty, and Hamlet famously dithers and does not kill him then, because he knows that he can see the king is on his knees praying, and if he kills the king, then he'll be sending him straight to heaven because he's killed the man at prayer. And the last thing he wants to do is to send his murderous uncle to heaven. So he doesn't kill him then.
They were very strange times then, weren't they?
They were. But to be fair, though, when you look at the shenanigans of our current royal family, to be honest, in Hamlet's era, they just got things done. Someone was evil. Someone was evil or wicked. They got poisoned. They got stabbed.
Not that we would encourage such behaviour.
No. I suppose
yes.
I I suppose not. I mean, the conspiracy theorists of the time must have been having a field day. If only they'd had social media at their disposal.
Oh my god! Could you imagine? I wonder what Shakespeare's
Well,
social media would have been like, or what if maybe
well,
his name would have been
well,
maybe at
quite.
2B or something.
But I have to say, as I say, if someone enjoys Hamlet, or is even unfamiliar with it and is curious about this play that they're probably likely to have heard about all their lives, because everyone has heard of Hamlet. So it's up there with Romeo and Juliet as Julius and Julius Caesar as Shakespeare titles that really everyone has heard of. And if you've ever toyed with the idea of going to see a Hamlet, I'd recommend this one. When it gets violent, it's great. The director, Robert Hastie, has really gone to town with the blood bags and the squirting of the jets of blood as people get stabbed here, there, and everywhere. So if you like your violence, it's good fun in that respect. And yeah, it's worth seeing. There's great acting. It's moving at times. There are times to chuckle. Hamlet is a great study on the human condition of love, of revenge, of jealousy. It's a classic for very good reasons, because when you look at the story, and I believe Shakespeare drew it from some classic tale of old, but he really has woven in so much of the strengths and weaknesses of our human condition that we all labor under, that I can't recommend it highly enough in that respect. Accessible.
I would very much like to get your theatrical opinion on this, because I struggle slightly with one thing that I sort of see both sides of the argument. When it comes to Shakespeare plays and productions brought into the 21st century, needless to say, a lot of the time they are tampered with so that they can suit a modern audience. But at the same time, I feel as though the reason why they have stood the test of time is because Shakespeare was such an extraordinary writer that who the heck is anyone in this day and age to tamper with his work? So how do you feel about that? Because I can see both sides. I can understand the sense in trying to bring it to a modern audience, but I can also see those who get disgruntled saying, leave it alone, stop messing with the greats.
I think I sit broadly with the traditionalists and the purists, but I'm prepared to adopt a reasonable approach. That's what I would say. The important thing is that the work does get brought down off the shelf, someone blows the dust off it, and that it gets presented. And I would say that the verse is, as far as is possible, is not tampered with. And as I say, the tamperings with this one are few. The bulk of the verse remains in its original form, and it is beautiful. Shakespeare, with his use of descriptions, his fabulous use of the iambic pentameter, which gives the 10 sort of 10 syllables in the way the lines will flow when verse is being used. Sometimes in rhyme, mostly in not, but the texture of his verse, I would say, is this play scores 9 out of 10 for maintaining the verse. And we do live in a modern age. Back in the day when Shakespeare was written, there wasn't even television, let alone television with 200 channels on it. So
it wasn't radio either, I don't think so.
Well, thank you. What a loss! What a
absolutely.
loss! The
they don't know they didn't even know they were born.
Correct.
Chrissy Richards says, hello, long time no speak, hope all is well. Has decided to bring us right back down to earth again and remove this sense of culture and that you are introducing to the program today. Has asked whether or not are Magic Mike tickets worth £100?
Not a clue. I'm going to treat that question with yes, quite. So
should we get back to Shakespeare, something we're probably both more comfortable with?
Indeed. Yes. Shaking. I think Magic Mike shakes very different spears.
Sorry, it just amused me. But here we are talking about Shakespeare, and she's asking about 100 quid Magic Mike tickets.
Oh, listen, hey,
I'm
listen.
very sorry, Chrissy. We've no idea. Sorry.
Listen, it keeps Magic Mike is keeping actors in employment at the Hippodrome, so fair play.
I'm all for that, but it's not necessarily something I'm overly familiar with. That's all.
Indeed. But anyway, Hamlet, it's on until the 22nd of November at the Littleton Theatre at the National. And like I say, if this has tickled your fancy, go and see it. It's a ripping yarn. And moving on to a seasonal Halloweeny themed show, which has come back for its 15th year, though I'd never seen it before catching up with it this week, is Ghost Stories, which is playing at the Peacock Theatre on we're just down from Holborn Station and just north of the
Strand, isn't it?
No, it's not on the Strand. It's what's that road that goes? Is that Kingsway? Is it Kingsway that goes north?
Yeah,
probably Kingsway that goes north up from the Aldwych. It goes up north from the Aldwych.
Yes.
The Peacock Theatre is on Kingsway, and this is where Ghost Stories plays until just after Halloween, 6th of November. Ghost Stories written by actor Andy Nyman and his partner in crime, Jeremy Dyson. These are lifelong friends. Andy Nyman, of course, currently appearing as Max Bialystock just around the corner in the Garrick Theatre in The Producers, which we talked about only last week. But Andy loves his horror and Ghost Stories. Also extremely good fun. It's the show is an hour and a half straight through, no interval, and as you would imagine, it's Ghost Stories. I'm not going to give you any spoilers whatsoever, but the premise is 3-4 little vignettes, which all turn out to have a bit of a spooky, horrific ending. Where there's a spooky ending, it does sometimes involve a creature or a monster. And to be honest, in this day of CGI and screen horror, etc., the monsters that do appear briefly to make the audience jump out of their seats are clearly people in a costume. So to that extent, it ain't the CGI $1 million budget extravaganza of horrific imagery that you'll see on screen. However, where these little stories really, really work is the suspense. As you may or may not recall from, if you're sat around a campfire or something listening to a ghost story, the magic is in how the story is told. And you're listening to it and you're getting more and more scared as the story bells on. And there were times that I have to say when I was looking at the stage through my fingers like that, because I just couldn't bear waiting for whatever beast was going to jump out and make me jump. But it
is quite clever, actually, the way that theatre does do that, because because to my mind, straight away, when you say that, I thought of The Woman in Black, which I was lucky enough to see twice. And even though the set was more basic than you could possibly imagine, it was still had this amazing ability to make you do that, like when you didn't even realize that you were going to do that. So it is amazing what can be achieved in the world of theatre on that front.
And Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson, fair play. They've sat down, they've put their heads together. How can we frighten an audience? And they do it through this is a show where literally from the moment the show starts until it finishes, nothing is what it seems. That's the only spoiler that I will give away. Nothing is what it seems to be. Of course, it starts with the immediate blackout. Boom. Theatre plunged into darkness. I said to my friend who'd come with me that night, I said, this is going to start with a blackout. And as I was in the middle of the word blackout, that's when the blackout happened.
Brilliant. They must have heard you.
Indeed. So it's very, very much of the time for Halloween. The producers are no fools. This is the era for Halloween themed shows. I'm off to see one on Monday, which sadly I don't think I'll probably be able to talk about on here, because by the time I'm next on air, the show will have finished, because Halloween will have been and gone. That's a stage adaptation of the movie Don't Look Now, Did you ever see that, Phil?
I can't say that I did, actually. I'm not
Right.
even sure I'm familiar with the title.
Right. Let me recommend it to you. I'm going to stray briefly into Chantal Rickards territory. Don't Look Now is a 1970 something horror movie starring Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie as a couple who very early on lose their young child. She's wearing a red raincoat and she slipped into a pond in their English home.
Oh, hang on a second. Sorry, I do think I know. I'd forgotten the name of it, but I do think I know this. But keep going.
She
sir.
slips
Sorry.
into a pond wearing a red raincoat, tragically drowns. And you have this young married couple. He is an architect, specializes in I don't know. Sorry, not an architect. That's the wrong word. His skill is in restoring very old churches. And she's a distraught mum. And his current project is restoring a church in Venice. And the brilliance of this film. You have seen it?
No, this is even worse. I've seen a stage adaptation.
So I've not seen
How
ridiculous.
The stage. I've seen a stage. I'd forgotten the name of it. I'm so sorry, but yes, of course.
Well, don't give me any spoilers.
No,
don't give me any spoilers.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this latest version, but I saw it years ago.
So I'm seeing the stage adaptation of it on Monday. Don't Look Now. I'm going to Ipswich to see it. I can't tell you if it's good or bad because I haven't seen it. So it's a total. This is more of an advertorial rather than an editorial comment. So the show's on in Ipswich, and then I believe
I may be permitted to say that when I did see the stage adaptation, I might have forgotten the name of it, but I promise you one thing: I was gripped by it. It was very good. So.
Well, it's a fabulous story, and Phil, I can only commend the movie. I can't commend the movie to you highly enough. It's up there in my pantheon of top 10 films. The acting is fabulous. It also has a very famous love scene between Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. Famous because I believe it's a myth that the intercourse in the scene is not simulated. I think reality is likely that it was simulated. However, it's a very moving scene. It certainly isn't pornographic in any way. But the film, as it comes to its climax, is absolutely horrific. And a great story, a great horror story. Anyway, I'm seeing that on Monday in Ipswich. But and that was Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is playing at the Peacock Theatre, and it's running there until the 6th of November. And finally, Esther, does that mean anything to you, Phil? No.
I'm afraid your references are wasted on me today.
Finally, Esther, is a line from That's Life.
Right. Sorry, yes.
Where Cyril Fletcher, who had a responsibility for bringing up various quirks and whatever through the show, would always finish the show with "and finally, Esther," which works very well when Russ is in the chair because he knows exactly what I'm
at the very least. I know That's Life. I just didn't realize that was the reference to it. I'm sorry.
Anyway, a play of far more serious tone, a play called Punch, which opened this week for the first time on its West End transfer. This was a play that opened in Nottingham Playhouse last year, then came into the Young Vic earlier this year, and now has a West End transfer. And Punch is a very bleak but ultimately uplifting tale. And I'd say there's no humor in this whatsoever. It tells the true story of when a young man called Jacob Dunn punched another young man called James Hodgkinson. Jacob had drunk, he'd had a little bit of cocaine and whatever. He was on his way to meet his mates in the middle of Nottingham in a typical Saturday night out. This guy, James, the victim, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and with very minimal or almost no provocation, Jacob punched James. One punch, James fell backwards, hit his head, tragically died a few days later when life support was switched off by the doctors, etc. Such was the extent of the brain injury that he sustained in that fall. The play, as I say, is called Punch, and the first chunk of the play sets the scene of Jacob's background and the evening that leads to this horrific. Listen, the punch was not an accident. He did the punch deliberately, but he didn't have murderous intent. And that very much is the premise of what the play is about. And it also sets out to discuss, you know, the dangers of violence. But he did not have murderous intent, and he was subsequently tried and found guilty of manslaughter. But what makes the story remarkable is the relationship, for want of a better word, that evolved through a channel known as restorative justice, in which a charitable agency brokered the relationship that came to take place between the killer, albeit it was manslaughter, but he is a killer, Jacob, and the parents of the killed man, David and Joan. And James Graham has written this play, and the first half I found a little bit hard work. It was one set of facts after another. And for me, and which is why the play got 4 stars, in my opinion, a lot of people have given it 5. I found the first half a little bit too much of a production line of setting up the facts of both parties to this narrative. But in the second half, and this is where James Graham, playwright, and you may have seen a lot of his stuff already, Dear England. Did you see that, Phil? The football play?
I'm afraid that's just not my kind of thing. I wouldn't even
Fair
think
enough,
to go
fair
to
enough,
it.
fair enough, fair enough. Anyway, James Graham is one of our more gifted young well, not so young anymore, one of our more gifted playwrights of the era. And he really structures this dialogue that goes on between Jacob, who in real life went on a path of redemption, went to prison, came out, you know, with an immaculate behavior record from his time in the Young Offenders Institution, went and studied, got a raft of A stars at GCSE, went on to get a degree in criminology. Really, you know, it sounds almost cliched, the extent to which he turned his life around, and the humility that he comes to bear from having been a big typical lad out for a night out with the lads for a bit of coke, a bit of booze, a bit of this, a bit of that. He transitions into a man who is desperately seeking redemption, and broadly this is a true story. And the warmth in which the parents of his victim ultimately reach out to him. As I say, the second half is outstanding drama. If it's not an easy night at the theatre, it's you know, even when the drama is fantastic, the story and the journey is harrowing, albeit at the end uplifting, because you know the moral of the story is one about Jacob's redemption alongside the loss that David and Joan are suffering. The cast have been with the play since it started in Nottingham, came to the Young Vic, came to the West End. A actor called his name is David Shields, plays the lead character of Jacob. He is on stage almost throughout, and it's a massive performance that he gives. It's not an easy night at the theatre. It's certainly entertainment that really makes you think, may make you cry. Will have you leaving the theatre at least with a little bit of faith in the you know, Hamlet was an analysis of the human condition. Punch is possibly a celebration of the human condition, that it is possible to seek redemption and that it is possible to not grant forgiveness. Joan, well, I won't say how forgiveness is or is not granted to Jacob by the parents, but it's on for a relatively short run. It's only on until the 29th of November at the Apollo Theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue. But you know, it's theatre that makes you think and is very moving and fantastically performed. The guy who plays Jacob is the only person who stays in role. All the other 5 actors on stage, including the actors who play David and Joan, dip in and out of different characters with subtle costume changes and voice changes, and I have to say it works perfectly.
Which is always, to me, the mark of a good production, is that
absolutely,
if you don't observe that, then they've done something right.
it works. One suspends one's disbelief. A woman who is playing a TV presenter in the final end game when David and Joan and Jacob are on a TV interview on the BBC that really happened. She goes from one scene as a TV presenter to literally the next scene as Jacob's parole officer or social worker, certainly a caring professional. And
well, that's quite normal actually in the BBC, because unfortunately they don't pay enough, so you have to have down a couple of jobs, you see.
But as I say, it was seamless and it worked brilliantly. So as I say, all of what I've seen this week, good theatre.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, JB. Regrettably out of time though, so we must leave it there. But thank you as ever for your insight and your wisdom, and we shall see you when you're next on with us.
I'm not, well, certainly not in 2 weeks' time. Or no, actually, maybe it will be. Something, in 2 weeks' time, I will be here, but I'll be coming to you live from the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Good Lord. Well, then we look forward to that.
I'll be here then, and it'll be 7 a.m. for me. So I wish you well.
You as well, sir. Till next time. Farewell.
Bye-bye.
Excellent stuff. Right, there we go. That's the essay of Jonathan Baz, which means that now it must be time to do a bit of television and film and stuff like that. And who better to do that than Chantal Rickards? Hi, Chantal.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm all right. I've had a bit of a giddy week. I've been hither and thither and running around like a crazy person. But, good.
And you look like you've done something very snazzy with your hair, which is rich coming from me, but it's
no. I've just tidied it up.
I see.
But anyway, there we are. Nothing special.
Well, if it's not impersonal, it looks very nice. So there you go. I think we should probably catch up with a couple of comments that have come in.
I think we should.
Linda Dave, naming my mother, said hello to Jonathan, also to me. Hello, Mum. I'm on the on the telly. I'm not on the telly. What am I on the social media? That's it. Robert Van Buren also says hello. We've already established Chrissy Richards is listening to us, and have you, Chantal? You strike me as a very classy sort of person. I don't know necessarily whether or not this is your thing completely, but Chrissy Richards wants to know whether or not Magic Mike tickets were worth £100, and it was something I couldn't answer. So
no. And Jonathan didn't answer either. And I was sitting here thinking, well, I wonder if Chrissy had asked me that question, what I would say. Now, I haven't seen Magic Mike, but I did a very long time ago go to one of those ridiculous sort of hen parties where somebody came along dressed as a policeman and started to take his clothes off. And I was so embarrassed I had to leave the room.
Amazing. Okay, well, there you go. I think that's answered that there for you, Chrissy. No worries. Francois says hello as well, as does Julie Boyce, who says hi to Phil and Chantal. Michelle Vaughan, hello, all back in Sydney. Had a great time in the UK. Either you, Chantal. Either you,
yes,
Chantal?
No, I saw Michelle. She came over for a couple of months to Europe, and she's now back in Australia again. So hello,
and my
Michelle.
mother says hello to you as well, sending love. Dave A. Sleet, greetings to you both and everyone out there. Hello, one and all. Thank you very much indeed. So,
and the boss is away again. What's going on?
The boss is away. I know, it's unbelievable. I can't really understand this slackish behavior. I'm not sure what's gone on with him, really. I think it's being the boss has gone to his head. I'll be honest with you. I think that's what the problem is.
One of those things.
This. Yeah, I've noticed this.
Oh, well.
You see, the problem is when you reach the dizzying heights of being in charge of the midday show, the truth is that there is this slight danger that you could just think you can get away with whatever you feel like doing. But anyway, never mind. I'm sure he'll be back before long.
Fantastic second career, so it's lovely for him.
Stupendous, love it. Yeah. I think it couldn't think it actually sort of a better career path, to be honest. So if the flying eye is to be no more, which sadly it has been for many a year, I actually believe that Russell has found his calling in life. So
yeah. Oh, well, I think you might be right about that, because he seems to put so much into it and get so much out of it, which is fantastic.
Totally enough. So, we should say that we are obviously only joking, that he's not slacking in the slightest. He is working today and hopefully making a difference to someone's big day, regardless of what that big day might look like. Any odd way.
Yeah.
We digress. Indeed. Chantal, what have you happened across this week?
Well, I've seen a ton of things. I just wanted to check what you've seen this week, because one of my choices might be something that you've already seen, in which case I'll leave it till the end and we can have a little bit of a chat about it. Have you watched anything particular that's come out in the last week or so?
Have I?
No? Okay.
I don't think so. Well, I think I tell you what I've been doing. I've been taking advantage of resubscribing to ITVX Premium because I got fed up with the adverts. Okay. And I have to be honest, to be fair to ITVX, and this is as much as Russ and I both lambast it as terrible software, and it really is. It's shocking how it is so unreliable. Considering that if you look at Netflix and Prime and all of those others, they really have nailed the way that those bits of software behave, or the applications behave, where you just know that if you leave it, you can go back to it later and it'll be in exactly the same place. ITVX, it's total hit and miss as to whether or not it remembers where you were or not, and it is very frustrating. And it's actually not that easy to fast forward either if you're watching on a smart TV. On a phone or on an iPad or something like that, or a tablet, you can fast forward it relatively easily, but not so much on a television. So those things together make it quite irritating. However, because I have resubscribed to it, I have decided to sort of make the most of that. And I've been rewatching some classic television, which I inevitably do. So currently in the process of rewatching Downton Abbey, rewatching, because I wanted to watch it again before watching the grand finale film.
Yes, so, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, so I was trying to remind myself of everything that's happened, you see. But Downton Abbey, also been rewatching Mr. Selfridge, which I thought was fantastic. I was very sorry it was only 4 series. Yeah.
I know Jeremy Piven is one of my pin-ups, has been for years. I love Jeremy Piven.
Very, very good. And then I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I've gone back even further in time with some of the things.
Oh my God.
I've started rewatching, would you believe, The Darling Buds of May.
That is a very long time ago. I was at Yorkshire Television when we made that. That must have been
early 90s.
Of the 80s.
Yeah,
early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s. So
exactly.
Absolutely loved that. So started rewatching that. I've also, unbelievably enough, in the absence of anything decent on a Sunday evening for a very long time, in my humble opinion, nothing fluffy like Heartbeat, The Royal, or anything like that, I've started rewatching Where the Heart Is, because I don't think I appreciated it at the time.
Wow. And that I also think is Yorkshire Television. So you've gone straight back.
It may well be Yorkshire, yeah.
So. It was Where the Heart Is. Almost sure that we did that. Anyway,
I think it was. I'm fairly sure it is Yorkshire. So
big chevron should come up at the end.
Oh, I don't let it get that far. I remember the Yorkshire Television logo, but I just don't get that far. I'm one of those ones who presses next episode before that happens.
I have to say, on the flip side, one of the things that irritates me about all the streamers is that it's very difficult to delete stuff and to take things out of what they're trying to feed you. Because actually quite a lot, occasionally I've pressed on the wrong button and then suddenly I get flooded with every horror movie. And I don't watch horror, as you know. And then if you try and take them out of what's coming down the pipe, as it were, to you, it's nearly impossible. Also, if you want to sort of get rid of something and you don't really want the second series of it because you didn't enjoy the first series, try deleting it. It's infuriatingly difficult.
I think some of them are better than they used to be. It does depend. ITVX, quite right, is terrible to get rid of it. I can't quite believe that this happened to me, but oh dear, right. I'm all for going back in time and all for feeling nostalgic, but I wasn't feeling this infantile. But however, what happened is that as part of ITVX doing all of this 70th anniversary of ITV celebration,
indeed, yep,
they've put a lot of programs, including children's programs, on ITVX, and one of which I used to watch as a child was Button Moon. Don't know if you remember the name of that.
Anyway, God, I don't. I've never even heard of it.
So years and years ago, it was a CITV extravaganza that was very popular in its day. Any odd way, I genuinely clicked on the wrong flipping thing, and it started playing it. And now I can't get rid of it from my continue watching. So heaven help me if anyone was to look at my continue watching, they'll see that one of them is this Button Moon program, and I'll think, Oh, right. Well, they're obviously going to think that I'm sort of trying to relive my, well, basically toddler days, because that's really how long ago it would have been to actually watch such a thing. So anyway, I do want to reassure anyone who does happen across my ITVX player, I am actually into slightly more mature television now than I used to be, but never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably all got a couple of skeletons in our cupboard of things that we don't own up to watching that we do watch. But
I'm all
anyway,
for that.
it is
I will
what it is.
happily admit watching anything, but it just wasn't one of those things. But anyway, but the trick I found with ITVX to get rid of it is if you go to the very last episode of the very last series, go to the credits, and then it does disappear.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So
right,
that's
so
how
play
to
it
get
right
rid of it from that.
again.
You don't have to watch all of it. You just have to jump right to the last few minutes, if you like. And then with some of the others, Netflix, I know now offers the chance to remove from watch history. Disney Plus also gives you the chance to remove from row. I haven't quite worked out how to do it with Prime yet, so I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
But you're right. It's not easy, but there are ways to do it.
Right. Well, I will have to dig in more. I shall ask AI later on, and I'm sure that somebody will have fed the answers into AI, and it'll come
my mother
back.
is being nostalgic in the wrong order here. This is what you call dyslexic nostalgia. She's referring to a program called Pajamas in Bananas, but I think she means bananas. I think she means bananas in pajamas. But anyway, so
yes, and I've got a feeling that might have been Australian, but yes,
possibly. Interesting. Okay. Chrissy Richards says Keeping Up Appearances is my favourite programme. And of course, in the last week, Dame Patricia Routledge.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. No, it was good. Great series. Don't make them like that anymore.
Sadly not. Any of
no, but
in answer to your question, Chantal, I'm really sorry, but I've done actually. Oh yeah, Michelle said definitely it was Australian. I fear that I have not watched anything too new in the past week.
Well, I'm going to give you some new stuff to watch. I've got something from Iceland. I've got something from the Navajo region of Arizona. I've got something from Puglia in Italy. But I'm going to start with Dark Winds, which actually is a story about Indigenous Americans, First Nations. So they are called all sorts of things. They used to be called the Navajo, but now they are called the Diné. They were renamed in the 90s. I hadn't realized that until I started watching the program, but it's a great cop drama based in the 1970s. It looks and feels really authentic. It's beautifully filmed, and it's filmed in a place called Monument Valley, which is sort of like a moonscape with giant sticky up rocks that sort of just appear from nowhere. And I don't know if you can see those images of the American desert in your eyes, but Monument Valley,
a couple of cactus here and there and all that. So.
Exactly. It is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, the odd cactus, but really rather like a moonscape, a bit of scrub, and you can drive through. It's now a fantastic national park. I mean, America has got some wonderful national parks. I think it's got 50 or 52 national parks, but Monument Valley really is quite something. But this is a cop drama. It's all based on what's called Navajo land. It was literally called Navajo land, which sort of sounds like something from show business or Hollywood, but it was called Navajo land. And the local cop clearly is a First Nations guy. He is Diné. An FBI guy arrives from Flagstaff. I think he's also Diné. There is a lovely female cop who is Diné, and there's lots of bad goings on. It's really, I think, worth watching. The first episode is a bit slow, but persevere, because it goes down lots of different trails.
And where was this on? Sorry, I don't know if I caught where it's streaming.
I didn't say where it's on. It's on Prime.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And actually finding stuff on Prime can be quite difficult. And this just appeared in my feed. I think it's the first time in the UK we've had it, but they have actually made 3 series. But of course, I went to find series 2 and series 3, but they haven't been put on the English feed yet, which is a bit irritating because the reviews for series 2 and for series 3 are really good as well. So I don't know which characters are coming back into the next series, but it's great. I mean, there are lots of themes that you would expect about bias about, how the indigenous Americans were suppressed, how there was a lot of crime. There's a lot of sort of mysticism in it, which actually fits in really well without it going down some sort of wacky path. And you think, okay, this is all a bit sort of odd. It's excellent. And it's a great whodunit, basically. It starts with two people who are dead. The young woman, you don't even know why she's died, but it looks as though she's died of fright. And there is her grandfather, who was also
I do believe
died.
shows have had effects on people like that in the past as well. So.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's all I can say is there's a great interplay between the characters. The lead character, this one sort of FBI guy who comes and joins the local force, puts on the sort of local uniform, tries to blend in. He's excellent. I'm afraid I don't know the actor's name, but he's really good. I haven't seen him on television or film before, but I really, really rate him. And
I like that when you happen across someone who's new and doesn't get given all the parts. I actually quite like that.
Yeah, his performance just held me all the way through. He's really, really good. So I'm going to look out for that. I mean, I literally hadn't heard of it before. And most really good things come across my desk in one way or another, but I hadn't heard of that, and I think it's really worth it. So it's called Dark Winds, which is not very memorable.
I must admit, in the time since you told me, I actually thought you said Black Winds. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So they go Dark Winds. There you go. Right.
Goodness. Sort of doesn't mean anything.
Hopefully we'll remember it. Make a note to someone. Dark Winds. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's worth watching. That's on Prime. There are only 6 episodes. It's, super bingeable, and it's nice. I'm not going to tell you what the ending is, but there are good guys and there are bad guys, and there's good and evil, and it all plays out on this wonderful background of Monument Valley. So worth watching.
Excellent.
And then I was going to take you, sort of half to Australia, only because I love the Australian actress Toni Collette, who mainly works in America, but she is brilliant.
Confusing, but okay.
Yeah. Americans all the time, and she is in a rather strange series on Netflix. It's an 8-parter called Wayward, and it's about wayward teenagers, basically. That there is in America that wayward kids, there isn't a sort of system of approved schools or borstals, as we might have called them in the old days. What the Americans tend to do is send tricky kids up into somewhere in the woods where they are sort of taught to behave properly. And
I'm going to say they have like behavioral camps or something like that, don't they? Really?
Exactly. Well, Toni Collette is the sort of mysterious leader of this strange boarding school for kids with behavioral problems. There's a couple of kids who are from Boston, and one ends up there by mistake, who's looking for her friend, and one is there because her parents can't cope with her, and they end up in this strange place. And that's played out against a couple. It was slightly difficult to work out who was who and what was what, because there's a bit of somebody is transitioning from female to male, who is with a female partner. And I got a bit confused at the beginning because I was thinking, okay, I'm sure that's a girl.
Like they did as well.
Once you get into it, it's absolutely fine. Once you know that isn't really the story, then you can sort of move on from there. And it's just, it's not really referred to again. But at the beginning, it's a little bit confusing because you're thinking, what is the relationship between these people? And then you suddenly realize that they are a married couple and they are returning to this very strange place that is somewhere in the deep, dark woods. And this is the mum of the family, if you like. It is her old family home. And then it all reveals itself in terms of, we then find out that she was once one of the troubled kids who was at this strange boarding school. Anyway, people go missing. That leads to uncovering a lot of facts about many people who've gone missing, of these young troubled teenagers. And it's good. I took it all the way through very, very quickly. It's a really easy watch. It's not rocket science. Again, it's rather well made. But Toni Collette is a very sort of, alluring character. And once you get in, you have to sort of forgive the nonsense of it all. And once you've forgiven the nonsense, just go with it. Just don't question it too much. But she's such a great actress. I'll watch nearly anything she's in. So that's called Wayward.
It's very strange, there are some shows, especially on Netflix, who seem to be a bit woke happy, that they do put a lot of nonsense into their programming just to almost pacify. But actually, when you look beyond that, you're quite right. They are very good. So for me, there's one in particular, which was called, hang on a second. I think it sounds like quite a lewd title, but actually it wasn't as graphic as it sounds. I think it was called Sex Education.
That was fantastic.
And it is a very, very good series, but yet they tried to tick every single box under the sun in that, but it was a very good series beyond that.
Sex Education on Channel 4. I mean, it was very good. It was very well written. Very
I thought it was a Netflix thing.
No, it started out on Channel 4, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, am I wrong about that?
I don't know, but anyway, one way or another, it's a very good series, one way or another, whichever. So.
Well, you may be right. Now I'm beginning to question myself.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, for those that haven't
seen it, wherever the heck it started, I saw it on Netflix. So,
yes.
But anyway,
yes.
the point
very
is,
raw is all I would say, and be prepared to learn something new, because I certainly did.
Definitely a couple of new things in that, but it thankfully wasn't as graphic as it could have otherwise have been. But more the point is that it was, again, you have to look past nonsense in order to appreciate it. So,
and of course, I don't know if I mentioned it. I think maybe I have mentioned it, that a lot of the sort of woke themes are the stuff that we're getting now that would have been commissioned 2, 3, and 4 years ago.
Exactly. Yes.
When woke was sort of super trendy.
Yeah.
But those are all the sorts of themes that are not getting financed at the moment, because we seem to have sort of gone past that tipping point where a lot of people are either feeling a little worried about making things with a woke theme because woke isn't as popular, all the bits of woke are not as bit as popular, or climate change or whatever. So there's a sort of...
I think the bottom line is that the pendulum is now starting to slowly creep back to some sort of middle ground. And as a result of it, a lot of these shows that you rightly added to, I might have been of the time when they were commissioned, are certainly not now. So.
Exactly. And that, although I wasn't really going to talk about it, the new film with Leonardo DiCaprio that's just come out, I think it's a bit confused, because it starts in a sort of slightly wokey space where they're all sort of a bit, hippies, and they've got something to say, and they've got a point, and they're angry, and then it sort of ends up as a shoot 'em up movie. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, this is it's like a sort of revenge. Yeah, it's like a revenge movie at the moment. I think it's been massively overhyped, but then it got 5 stars in the Times and 5 stars in the Guardian. So, but it wasn't something that I would naturally say you've got to go and see it. I
can't pretend it sounds like it has the same sort of effect that Titanic might have had, but never mind.
Yeah, I mean, if it hadn't had DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro in it, you would have thought, yeah, okay, sort of quite interesting. It's got a bit of a point, but so what? And it won't make much money. I mean, it'll probably make some money because they're in it, but I don't think it's as big as the hype. But anyway, I don't normally talk about programs or films that I'm not potty about. So it's not on my list of favorite films I've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
In that case, let's move on.
Move on. We're moving on. We're going to Iceland, Channel 4. Nice series, again, Nordic noir. Everything's something noir. It's so boring now. I think I'm just going to stop saying it. It doesn't mean anything any longer, really. Unless it's Nordic noir for real, then it's sort of a bit of a stupid phrase. But this actually is Iceland, so I think it sort of counts. Lead copper. Interesting in that she's a sort of grizzled, troubled, all of that normal backstory stuff. Got big chips on her shoulder, the size of McCain's lorries, massive chips on her shoulder, but just about to retire. So it does set up a few themes that you don't think that you've seen that often before. Older women are not getting many roles. I mean, that's been true for years, but this is actually about an older woman who is literally on the edge of leaving her job as a detective in the police force in Reykjavik. And it's sort of, she's an appealing character, even though she's not an appealing woman, and she plays that really rather well. You don't really like her. It's really hard to pull that off, to play a character that actually isn't terribly likable, but takes the audience with them. And this particular actress has done really, really well. It's about Russian asylum seekers. Somebody is found dead. And this woman, determined in the last week of her career, is going to uncover the mystery. So it's got lots of various themes about, clearly, asylum seekers, ageism, sexism, but not laid on with a tar brush. Again, it's a little bit of wokey stuff coming through, but once you can sort of move aside and actually just focus on the drama, it's great. It's terrific. It looks rather dark. It is rather dark. It's one of those things I hate watching unless I'm in a darkened room, because you can barely see it because everything's.
Oh yes, everything reflects it or something.
Yeah.
What have you? So would you? Is it one of those ones with subtitles though? Again, you wouldn't. It's not.
Yeah,
I assume in
lots of
English.
subtitles. Yeah, and it's called The Darkness, which just tells you everything you need to know about how much lighting they've used. But it's good. So it's 6 parts of 6 1 hours, and it'll be on Channel 4 forever. It's part of their Walter Presents International.
Oh yes. Walter Presents
European dramas. And whoever does the selection for Walter Presents has got a very good eye. I rarely see stuff under that banner on Channel 4 that's duff. Somebody knows what they're doing, basically, and they're, selecting those things specifically for.
Feeling I think I once interviewed Walter for a podcast.
Oh,
I think it was a podcast I was working on, because he'd chosen some sort of Israeli thing or other, and it was it was a Jewish podcast. I'm fairly sure I interviewed. I can't remember if it was him or if it was the actor in the drama. I thought it was him, but anyway.
Well, if it was,
I recall Walter Presents, definitely. So
right. Well, there is a lovely Jewish character in the next thing I'm going to tell you about, which I loved, absolutely loved, for all sorts of reasons. It's called Inspector Jerry, Gerri.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Italian Walter Presents drama from Channel 4. It's about a Romany cop. Also, I didn't really understand how big the Romany thing was in Italy, and how much a part of a sort of grouping, if you like, a population, that there was so much bias towards. I mean, I don't think in this country we've even thought about that sort of population divide in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We've sort of gone past that. But there's obviously a big deal
like to think
going
we
on.
have. Most of us have, I think, but not everyone, sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But obviously the Romany population feel very disenfranchised. It's filmed in Puglia, which is the heel of Italy, and looks stunning. I tell you, I'm going to book to go. It looks absolutely beautiful. And Inspector Jerry is trying to uncover the death of a girl who is from a posh family, but somehow it seems to be linked to the death of a Romany girl from several months earlier. But his partner is a beautiful young Jewish actress who plays a Jewish cop. And between the two of them, they form this just sort of gentle and beautiful relationship, because they both feel slightly disenfranchised by other people. But there is sort of total harmony between the two of them. And that took me all the way through. Now, that's not really the story, but it's a really good, B story as opposed to the A story, besides the actual cop drama, which is layered across the top and knits it all together. But it's nicely done, and I just came away with a smile on my face, and I just thought, and the death, there's no sort of violence. You don't see the violence. It's quite cerebral, but it's lovely. It's in Italian, obviously, with English subtitles, and it's a 6-parter, Inspector Jerry, on Channel 4.
Splendid stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Chantal. Regrettably, that is, I think, pretty much out of time. Although I do have to confess to watching one other thing. on ITVX as part of the
Yeah.
70th celebrations, which I have a feeling you may be familiar with. Brilliant little program presented by the late great David Frost, referred to as Through the Keyhole. So
is that on there?
That's on there as part of the celebrations, and it is
Wow.
fantastic to see it again, because it really was. Not that you need to be told this, but it really.
Did you see my name at the end of the? Oh, did you see my name?
Well,
at the end of it?
I saw someone with the name of Chantal, but it wasn't your surname, so I don't know.
I used to have a different surname. That's why
I wondered whether or not it might be you with a different surname, but I did definitely see someone by the name of Chantal creep up at the end there. So there you go.
Right. So I must look it up. I didn't know they're on there.
Yeah, absolutely, it is on. And not all on there, but a lot of it's on there. So anyway,
yeah.
Chantal, thank you so much. It's just see you. I assume same
have
time
next
week.
Phil. And
you
everybody
as well.
else have a great weekend.
And I assume Russ will be back on Monday with Neil Long. So until then, bye everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.